98% of people lose. Power is a game. There are winners and there are losers. Now, what really makes someone win at this game? Your ability to gain and maintain power. And that's exactly what we're going to see now. First of all, you need to understand why 98% of people will never have real power. Because that's what power is, a game. And there is 5 rules that no one ever had the courage to teach you, only Niccolo Machiavelli. When you arrived in this world, someone told you, here is the manual to become powerful. Most have been taught to believe that success comes from kindness, honesty, or luck. But the game of power is not played with good intentions. He plays with strategy, and that's why you never learned what I'm about to teach you. True knowledge of power has always been restricted. It is no coincidence that secret societies, rulers, and strategists have always hidden these rules from the masses. Now, how do you win the power game? If this is a question you've never asked yourself, I honestly don't know what to tell you. But if you've already realized that the world doesn't reward the naive, then you're in the right place. The first thing you need to understand is how you see the world, because until you change your perception of power, you will never be able to achieve it. But before revealing the 5 rules, you need to understand one thing. 98% of people believe that power is achieved by being fair. And as long as you continue to believe this, you will never have control over your own life. The fatal error of the majority is to see the world as a contest between good and evil. But Machiavelli teaches us that the world is not a moral battle. It is a game of influence, manipulation, and control. And once you accept that, you move up a level. You differentiate yourself from 98% of people are trapped in illusions of what they wish were true. What I'm going to teach you now are the codes that govern power, and that could change everything. If you still believe that government officials, CEOs, and great leaders reach the top just because they were talented or honest, you have already lost the game. Morality and politics rarely coexist. Those who believe they can lead only by being fair and correct will be crushed by those who do not have such constraints. Power is not a fairy tale. It's a battlefield where only strategists survive. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this like few others. He didn't write about how the world should be, but about how the world it really is. And that's the only rule that matters. Today, you will learn the real rules of the power game. No illusions, no romanticizations, just what really works. If you want power, or at least want to avoid being manipulated by those who have it, pay attention, because this knowledge can change everything. For centuries, philosophers, religious leaders, and naive thinkers have tried to define how power it should to be. They talked about just governments, benevolent leaders, and societies guided by moral principles. But Machiavelli was the first to expose the brutal truth. Power does not belong to the virtuous, it belongs to the strategists. Most people believe that the world operates on the basis of justice, loyalty, and merit. But this is an illusion. Reality does not reward the good. She rewards the strong and the smart. There is a huge difference between how people live and how they should to live. Anyone who ignores this reality is heading towards their own ruin. The fatal mistake most people make is believing that others will play fair, that the world is a place where you just need to be honest, kind, and patient to achieve success. But Machiavelli saw the truth. He lived in a time of betrayals, coups d'état, and constant manipulation. He saw benevolent rulers massacred and ruthless despots consolidate empires. And history has always followed this pattern. Rulers such as Julius Caesar and Nicholas II of Russia believed that their subjects' love and loyalty would protect them. Both were murdered. Leaders like Napoleon and Stalin understood that fear, cunning, and the strategic use of force guarantee power. They didn't care about being loved. They worried about not being knocked down. This is the difference between those who govern and those who are governed. The mistake most people make is living in the world as think that he should be. The powerful live in the world as it really is. And if you don't understand this, You're already playing a game where the rules weren't made for you to win. The only question that remains is, will you remain a piece on someone else's board, or will you learn to play by the real rules of power? So now, the 5 rules of the game of power. If you believe that power belongs to the fairest, the most ethical, or those who strive and expect recognition, you already lost the game. Machiavelli saw this better than anyone else. He saw moralistic rulers massacred and brutal tyrants consolidate their kingdoms. The lesson was clear: being good is not enough. If you don't know how to defend your power, someone more ruthless will take it from you. And the reason for this is simple. Most people are weak. They believe in empty promises. They follow leaders who tell them what they want to hear. They seek security and not true. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, disingenuous, and greedy. They are with you as long as it suits them, but they will abandon you at the first sign of crisis." This means that if you trust people to remain loyal because you have been fair to them, you are setting yourself up to be betrayed. Caesar Borgia, one of the greatest models of power according to Machiavelli, shows exactly this. When Borgia conquered Romagna, he knew that the people were undisciplined and did not respect authority. So he appointed a brutal ruler, Ramiro d'Orco, to impose order with an iron fist. D'Orco did what was necessary. He murdered rebels, crushed the opposition, and established discipline. But Borgia was not naive. He knew that the people hated d'Orco, and he knew that this hatred could turn against him. Then, before the revolt began, he used d'Orco as a scapegoat. In a single night, he had him executed and left his mutilated body exposed in the public square. The people, who previously hated the government, now saw Borgia as a vigilante. With one move, he eliminated an enemy and guaranteed the loyalty of the population. This is the power game. If Caesar Borgia had been weak, he would have been overthrown. If he had trusted in the kindness of others, he would have been betrayed. But he understood the truth. Power only belongs to those who are willing to take it and defend it. So understand, if you want respect, impose it. If you want loyalty, make sure betrayal has an unpayable cost. If you want power, be ready to eliminate them before they eliminate you. Those who expect the world to be fair will be crushed by those who understand that justice is determined by the victors. If you think being liked and admired is the path to power, you've already lost. Machiavelli was clear. People's love is unstable, but fear maintains order. People are fickle. They swear loyalty as long as they need you, but at the first opportunity, they switch sides. Fear, on the other hand, is a permanent barrier against betrayal. Love is a bond that men break when it suits them. Fear is sustained by the fear of punishment, which never fails. A classic example comes from the Roman Empire itself. Octavian Augustus, Rome's first emperor, consolidated his power not through kindness, but through absolute control over his enemies. After the assassination of Julius Caesar, Rome descended into chaos. There were factions, betrayals, and constant disputes for power. If Augustus had tried to rule with diplomacy and generosity alone, he would have been quickly destroyed. He didn't make that mistake. First, he brutally eliminated his rivals. He formed the Second Triumvirate with Mark Antony and Lepidus, only to later betray them. As soon as Mark Antony began to threaten his position, Augustus labeled him an enemy of the Republic and ensured its destruction. But the most important thing, he knew how to balance fear without being hated. Unlike other tyrants who ended up assassinated, such as Caligula and Nero, Augustus created a stable empire because he made the people fear him, but without direct resentment. He eliminated threats quickly while cultivating an image as Father of Rome. This is what Machiavelli teaches. If you can be loved and feared at the same time, great. If you have to choose, always choose to be feared, but never, ever be hated. The mistake of many leaders is trying to govern only with love and loyalty. But Machiavelli knew the truth. Love disappears. Fear maintains control. Power rarely belongs to the strongest. It belongs to the one who appears to be the strongest. Machiavelli understood that the world is not governed by truth, but by the perception of truth. People don't investigate the facts. They believe in what they see, what they hear, and most importantly, what is shown to them. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you really are. This means that a leader does not need to be virtuous as long as he appears virtuous. He doesn't have to be brave as long as he looks brave. He does not need to be fair as long as his image is of a fair ruler. Reality doesn't matter. What matters is what people believe to be real. One of the most brilliant examples of the use of illusion in power comes from Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon knew that public perception was his most powerful weapon. Before his battles, he wrote false letters, spread rumors about his own invincibility, and even faked victories. He understood that if the enemy believed he was unstoppable, he had already won before the first shot was even fired. An example of this happened during the flight from the island of Elba in 1815. Napoleon had been exiled and his rule seemed to have come to an end, but instead of attempting a retake with brute force, he used illusion. When he landed in France with a small army, he did not hide. He walked openly towards the troops sent to capture him, unarmed, and said, "If anyone wants to kill their emperor, here I am." The soldiers did not fire. They believed the legend that Napoleon had created about himself. In a few weeks, without firing a single shot, he regained the throne of France. The mistake of the week is to believe that what matters is the truth. But Machiavelli knew that truth is irrelevant when you control perception. If you control the narrative, you control reality. Most do not seek the truth. They accept the most convincing illusion. Power does not belong to those who are right, but to those who shape the views of others. What people believe to be true is more powerful than the truth itself. Whoever masters this illusion dominates the world. Brute force does not guarantee power. Neither does intelligence alone. The true master of power combines the two. Machiavelli teaches that a leader must be both a lion and a fox. The lion represents strength, dominance, imposition. He intimidates his opponents and maintains order through fear. But the lion alone is vulnerable to traps. He can face enemies head-on, but he can't see the hidden dangers. The fox, on the other hand, represents cunning. She detects traps before it's too late, manipulates, deceives, and escapes impossible situations. But alone, the fox is fragile. It cannot face wolves directly. The lion cannot protect itself from traps, and the fox cannot defend itself from wolves. Therefore, it takes a fox to recognize the traps and a lion to scare the wolves. One of the most perfect examples of this strategy is Joseph Stalin's rise to power in the Soviet Union. After Lenin's death, Stalin appeared to be just a discreet bureaucrat, a reliable ally within the Communist Party. He moved silently, cultivating alliances, eliminating rivals without attracting attention. He was the fox, deceived everyone, pretending to be loyal while setting the stage for his absolute rule. So when the moment was right, he acted like a lion. He brutally purged his enemies, exiled or executed anyone who threatened his authority. Those who once saw him as a harmless bureaucrat now feared him as an unquestionable leader. He combined cunning and strength, ensuring his absolute reign for decades. The weak believe they can rule with strength alone or with intelligence alone. But Machiavelli knew that those who are only strong end up falling into traps. Those who are only smart end up being crushed. Use force when necessary. Show that challenging you has a price. Use cunning to avoid unnecessary wars. Deceive before you attack. Never rely on just one of the two. True power is in balance. Winners of the power game know when to be a lion and when to be a fox. Whoever doesn't learn this is devoured. If there is a universal truth in the power game, it is this: it doesn't matter how you win, it matters that you win. Machiavelli knew that morality and leadership rarely go together. The weak hesitate to do what is necessary. The powerful act without remorse. A ruler must not stray from good, but must be ready to enter into evil if necessary. The reality is simple. People don't judge a leader by his intentions, but by his results. If your actions guarantee stability, control, and greatness, the means are irrelevant. One of the best examples of this is Franklin Roosevelt during World War II. Roosevelt faced an impossible choice. The war devastated Europe, and the United States were still hesitant to enter the conflict. If he waited too long, the Axis could take over the world. But if he entered the war too soon, he could lose the population's support. So Roosevelt manipulated the narrative. He knew that the American people would not support the war without an emotional shock. He increased diplomatic tensions and waited for Japan to strike first. When Pearl Harbor was bombed, he finally had the perfect pretext to mobilize the entire country. The result: the USA won the war and emerged as the greatest world power in history. If Roosevelt had followed only morality, he would have hesitated. I would have waited, and the world could have fallen under Nazi rule. Weak people worry about appearing correct. The powerful care about winning. If the goal is big enough, the means will always be justified. Morality is a luxury that few in power can afford. History doesn't remember who played fair. It remembers who won. The world does not reward those who follow the rules. He rewards those who understand that rules are there to be bent, manipulated, and, if necessary, broken. Now, you have two choices. You can continue living like the majority, believing that the world follows fair rules, waiting for power to come to you. Or you can learn to play this game the right way. Machiavelli revealed what few have the courage to accept. Power belongs to those who take it. The question is, are you ready to take what's yours?